Coming for the throat, deep between my knuckles like a snapping bones. Start to powder me, I'm coming for the throat. King of the cage. Blood, sweat, and tears I drink. Gonna sing this addiction to the rage. It's a primal beast, but it's ready to feed. I don't KO, I kill off, I am king. King of the cage.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satan Coffee. So, they should consider the ants' ways and be wise. There you go. So, welcome, everyone, to Satan and Coffee. Of course, if you didn't know, where is it? Right there. There's Thaddeus Dade, the voice of Satan, right? Ego sum vox satanae. So today's episode of what we're going to be talking about is really fucking weird because the thing is I can hear my voice after I'm done saying shit from upstairs. And it's really weird hearing my voice echoing down the stairs. uh, so with today's episode, what we're going to be talking about, we are going to be discussing discipline and integration and the necessity of these two things in the left hand path in magic, generally speaking. Like, it doesn't inherently mean like the left hand path, but the left hand path definitely pushes the shit, is what we're looking at. So, the phrase "I am the voice of Satan," I suppose we need to kind of provide a little bit of background on that for those that have been here for a while. You know, where that comes from. So, I am the voice of Satan, or rather, I am the golden voice of Satan. Comes from a longtime community member, Evie, that when I first started Satan and Coffee, and we were doing just the Sunday episodes, and we were reading from the Satanic Bible. Said something in the comments that says the golden voice of Satan has returned, and it kind of stuck. But then from that point, I think it kind of grew into something else. When it comes to what it is that we practice, when we look at Lucifer, Samael, and Satan, I do find myself or feel myself contextually being the literal voice of Satan. Because I don't concern myself with petty differences, societal bullshit, at least when it comes to the path. Like, we'll talk about it because it's relevant about what's happening in our world, but at the end of the day is rather inconsequential. And for most people, I mean, it's just games that people play, isn't it? And so what we're going to be talking about today kind of pulls from that vein, the discipline needed on the path. And the fact that when you don't want to show up, that's when you actually need to show up. When you don't want to do something, that's when you actually need to do something. So Satan's always been the archetype of resistance, the adversary, hence the name Shaitan. But I believe that within that adversarial vein, that adversarial makeup, that adversarial design, there exists persistence. And when we look at those things, we look at not just being resistant to the things that want to change us, the things that want to make us different outside of the desire of being different, like of our own desire and want to be different. there requires a certain level of persistence and the necessity for one to continue to show up for yourself. Now, I need to preface all of this because there's a conversation I had with a client yesterday that kind of sparked something in my head. And I think it's necessary for Satan and Coffee. I think it's a necessary preface for the show, for what the show is about, for what I teach is about, and what I try to project out to everybody. This show, this path, so to speak, I think maybe like giving kind of like an anecdotal example is probably going to be the best way to go about this. Pathological demand avoidance is my built-in satanic defiance of authority for authority's sake, right? So we're talking about, because there's a couple of times, like I've always told people, right? Like discipline's important. People said that they don't like the word discipline. I've always said that, getting off your ass and moving and stuff like that, and that's like the important thing. You need to get up off your ass. You need to, like, if you feel like you can't do something, just fucking get up and just do it. And then I've had people tell me a lot in the past, right? That, well, there's going to be people out there that, they can't get up and, make the bed and, stuff like that, or they can't do this or they can't do that. Well, because of this or because of that. And I said, so my idea here is, outside of being a fucking quadriplegic, if you can't get your ass the fuck up out of bed and make your fucking bed, this isn't for you. Right? If you feel attacked because I say you need to make your bed, I think you need to re-examine. I don't need to re-examine what I'm saying. You need to re-examine your fucking life. Like if you are a perfectly physically capable human being, and you can't get out of bed and make your fucking bed in the morning and take a fucking shower and brush your teeth, stop feeling sorry for yourself, because that's what it is. Right? And then the people that play this shit and go, like, everybody's saying, well, I've got depression. No, motherfucker, you don't. You're sad. There's a difference, right? Clinical depression is a thing. People suffer from it, and it requires a diagnosis. In the amount of people that I've seen on Instagram profiles that literally say self-diagnosed, and the rest of the world looks at that and goes, oh, okay, that's good enough. I mean, that's like, isn't that like the same shit as somebody fucking walking into an operating room and being like, I never went to school, but I taught myself through YouTube how to cut somebody's head open? Isn't that like the same shit? I mean, it's an extreme example, obviously, but it's like the same shit. I'm self-diagnosed. Motherfucker, you can't diagnose yourself. Like, you can't. That's similar. Got called ableist spiritual hygiene and said to keep your space clean because yours is spiritual. Feel like the self-diagnosis stuff started as not being able to keep up with demand, and now it's just out of control. I mean, it should have never fucking started. Like, you can't diagnose yourself. Like, it's like that is a term. Using that term should be like a red flag of, like, there is something like legitimately wrong with this person that believes that they have the capability to diagnose themselves with a personality disorder or any type of disorder. Like, in most of the time, like, it's people with like fucking that claim that they have borderline personality disorder, and oh, for fuck's sake, don't get me started on the borderline personality disorder. Why does everybody want to have fucking borderline personality disorder? Like, I feel like people grasp onto like the basic concept of what borderline personality disorder is, and it's basically bipolar caused by trauma. Like that's I mean, that's a really watered down definition, but that's essentially what borderline is, right? Borderline has been or can be very easily confused with bipolar because there's a lot of overlapping symptoms. But bipolar is caused by a chemical imbalance or a bad wiring in the brain, whereas borderline is caused by trauma. And the amount of people that I've seen that are like, yes, self-diagnosed borderline, go fuck yourself. Like, really? And then people wear this shit like fucking badges. And this goes right into the whole discipline thing. It's like they want to excuse bad behavior, so they conveniently label themselves with some random fucking personality disorder. It goes worse is people perpetuating the idea there's no recovery and they should be allowed. Oh, that's another thing. We can dive into that bag of worms later. Anyway, the point is, I'm going off on a tangent here as I do, but the point here is what we're looking at. I do not believe that this path is for people that cannot be self-disciplined. Like they cannot show up when they need to. Because all of these things, what they are excuses. And here's the thing: if you're one of the people that are going to listen to this and you're going to get upset and you're going to talk about, well, people do actually have depression and shit. I just said that. I just said that people have depression. I just said that it's an actual thing, but you cannot diagnose yourself. You cannot diagnose yourself. Even medical professionals in the mental health field understand that even them as mental health professionals cannot diagnose themselves. And it's so funny that most of the people that self-diagnosed took a fucking 1-month course on Coursera or did 6 months of psychology in fucking college and then fucking dropped out because they thought that they understood enough of the diagnostic criteria. If we look at Jungian psychology, and this is an important part because a lot of these same people quote being Jungian, but I think that they fall into like the whole Jungian thing because they believe it to be, fashionable, right? There's a certain level of fashionability of saying that you follow Carl Jung, right? And instead of Freudian psychology, which I believe honestly, like if we're gonna be completely honest, you kind of need both. Like you need Freudian psychology and Jungian psychology. You need both of them, like to work, right? Yeah. Accurate self-diagnosis. But I also believe a proper diagnosis is needed. My own life, I'm looking at ADHD, autism, both my kids. So, I mean, that's fine. I mean, you can have. I'm apprehensive in calling it a diagnosis because a diagnosis guarantees is like almost a guarantee. Yes, you have this. When you are diagnosed with something, you have a medical professional turn and say, you have this thing, right? And if we look, for argument's sake, right? Just for argument's sake, let's do a quick look up here, right? I'm not talking out my ass, right? So, diagnosis or medical diagnosis is the process of determining which disease or condition explains a person's symptoms and signs. It involves identifying a disease, condition, or injury from its signs and symptoms by a medical professional through health history, physical exam, and various tests. So, when we look at diagnosis, diagnosis is interchangeable. Diagnosis by itself is interchangeable with medical diagnosis, right? In this explanation, in the definition, it specifically mentions medical professional, right? Self-diagnosis can be a starting point, but there is a reason why you can't get medication on a self-diagnosis, right? Like if you have something that requires medication, you can't get medication on a self-diagnosis. You can't go to the pharmacy and say, I diagnosed myself and I need this. They're going to look at you like you're a fucking crackhead. Unless you're in Mexico, yes, of course. That is true, but any first world country. But anyway, the point of today is not about diagnosis and about these things. I'm talking about these things in the sense of that people use these things as an excuse for behavior, right? So I don't want to get too far into it because the show isn't based on, we're not talking about self-diagnosis of mental illness, right? Is it a part of it? Is it connected to some of the things that I've seen going around? Yes, it is 100%, right? But it isn't the focal point. There's a lot of people that use these things as excuses for bad behavior, to excuse poor application of discipline, that it should be expected that they're going to be, just lazy and not doing anything because they diagnosed themselves or because they're sad that day, right? And again, like I said, do people have depression? Can depression affect your ability to do things? Yes. I'm not talking about you. If you have clinical depression, you are medically diagnosed with clinical depression, I'm not talking about you. If you're somebody that sits there and says, well, I'm self-diagnosed with depression, and you're upset about what I'm saying, you might want to take a look at what it is that you're doing in your life. Because if what I'm saying upsets you, that's projection. That's what that is. Now, Jung wrote that the shadow holds what we most need to become whole. Discipline is the key that opens the locked box. Satan is not here to hand you pleasure for free. He is the weight of the barbell, the fire in your lungs. When you run one more mile, the silence when no one claps for your work, that silence, that's where the devil lives. And you need to learn to love it. Discipline in everything that we do is so important. When it comes to doing ritual, when it comes to spell work, when it comes to gnosis, when it comes to this basic thing in magic, it is showing up and doing it. You don't just do, like, I don't agree with the premise. Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. It goes around all over the place. Discipline and showing up when you don't want to is the most important time to show up. when it comes to magic, I don't believe that you should just do ritual when you feel like it. Like, I think you should do ritual because you need to do ritual. You need the gnosis. You need the work. You need to put in the work. It's the same thing with anything you do in life. And the thing is with the spirituality aspect of it, this is like a preface, right? If you can show up and do a ritual, whatever that ritual might be. I'm not talking specifically like kneel down in front of the altar, light the candles and incense, and do what is considered a traditional ritual. There's a lot of things that we can do that can turn themselves into rituals. A lot of things. For me, it's a lot of the work that I do here in front of my computer, right? Like when I'm working on designs and artwork and stuff like that. Those are rituals for me, right? Those I'm constantly guys, I am sorry that I keep moving my piercing around, but my mustache is like all over the place, and it's like perpetually like tickling my nose. Like I need to give it a trim. That's why you keep seeing me going touching my face. So I apologize. Like I know that that's not like a wonderful thing to watch, but it's really fucking irritating. Oh, there it goes again. Right. So I need to give that a trim. So I do apologize. Just want to give you a reason why that's happening. So if you're able to show up and do ritual when and where you need to, that is something that can be applied to other things in your life, right? It's something that's learned, right? You begin to learn more about your own capabilities, your own abilities to do things. Okay. And discipline is so important. I know people don't like the word discipline because people think of the word discipline and they think of a parent hitting their child. And it's like, that is a form of discipline, to teach discipline. Right? Discipline is showing up when you don't want to show up. That's the definition we're rolling with here, okay? Discipline is the ability to show up for yourself when you don't want to, because you know that when you don't want to show up for yourself, that's when you need to show up for yourself. That's what discipline is. Right? And, you know, I got to give credit where credit is due. You know, the Catholics and the Christians have been so good, honestly, at teaching their followers discipline of going to church every Sunday, even though they fucking don't want to. Are there plenty of people that don't go to church? Yeah, there's plenty of people that don't go to church. But a lot of Christians, even when they wake up Sunday morning, even though they don't want to go to church, they go to church. Those motherfuckers show up. They put on their Sunday best and they show up, even when they don't want to. That's discipline. And I know a lot of us are going to feel uncomfortable about, you know, giving that credit there, but it's kind of needed because they have an understanding that I think us as occultists don't, right? Because a lot of us as occultists, we'll plan a ritual. We'll be like, all right, I'm going to do a ritual for this thing. The day comes, the time comes, and a lot of us just, I don't really want to do it. I'll do it tomorrow. Or I'll push it off to next week, or I'll do it next month. And it's like, if you can't show up for yourself and do the ritual work, how can you expect to show up for yourself for anything else? Discipline in pushing through the discomfort when things are uncomfortable, when things are inconvenient, is the path to becoming, is the path of being more than what you are. Like when I sit here and I say, and I've said this for years, you are the only one that is in control of where you are and where you're going. If you want to see a reason of where you are in life, look in the mirror. If you want success, you want comfort, you want all of these things in your life, and you want to know what is needed for it, I mean, anything that you want to do. I mean, the thing is like, yes, even physical activity, like a lot of people talk about like getting in shape, losing weight, right? Well, You know, if you want to get in shape, you want to lose weight, guess what? You need to show up. You need to go to the gym. You need to take your protein. You need to eat right. Those are all decisions. Fucking words, goddamn. Those are all decisions and choices that you need to make, and only you can make. Actions that only you can take. Nothing else is going to do it for you. Nothing. Nothing else is going to do. Sitting there and bitching about the government, bitching about the police, bitching about your mom, bitching about your dad, bitching about your trauma. Like, motherfucker, I've been through trauma. I've been through it. I've been through the fucking ringer as a kid. If that shit stops me from becoming the person that I know that I can become, the only person I have to blame is myself. Did my dad beat the shit out of me as a kid? Yeah, he did, but he's not here anymore. So if that trauma of my dad beating the shit out of me stops me from being able to be the person that I want to be, that I know that I'm capable of being, it's not my dad's fault, it's mine. Like, it's okay to identify trauma and figure out and understand time and place that, like, yeah, you need to work through that shit. I'm not saying let it go, leave it behind, it doesn't matter, fucking man up. I'm not saying that. Like, go to fucking therapy, work through your shit. But again, that's a choice and a decision that you need to make. Right? If your trauma is fucking with you so much that you can't function in society, that you can't function in life, that you can't push yourself forward, go to therapy. Do whatever you can to go to therapy. Talk to fucking somebody. Right? Now, I know that therapy is not cheap. I know it's hard to find a therapist. But there are so many resources out there that people can take advantage of that are completely fucking free. And they just don't. Right? And people will sit there and say, well, that's not therapy. That's not what I need. Well, I mean, it's something, right? It's something to deal with the shit that you've got going on, to help you move a little bit forward. Time and place, right? Because if you take your trauma and you apply it to everything in your life, you're going nowhere. Because at that point, it's a fucking excuse. That's what it is. It's a fucking excuse. I've got trauma. I've got a lot of trauma. I've worked through a lot of it. A lot of it still needs to be worked through. But the choice and the decision to move forward and stop using it as an excuse to be useless, because I'll speak for myself. Okay, I was fucking useless. Like, when I was in my early 20s, I was fucking useless. I was a useless human being. I didn't have a job. I was doing drugs. I couldn't hold down a job. I was homeless 3 times. What pushed me forward, what pushed me out of the fucking gutter, 3 different countries, the United States, Turkey, and Mexico. 3 different countries. I go to 3 different countries, and it's the same story. No job, can't hold a job, and homeless. There comes that point where you just kind of sit back and say, okay, what's the fucking common denominator here? It was me. I was the common fucking denominator. Because we're talking about 3 different countries. And each instance, you're talking about people that didn't know me. Like, they had no idea about my past, anything like that. Like, I had ample opportunity to be a completely different person, and I kept falling into the same patterns. In 3 different countries. Countries. Not states, not cities, countries. Now, I could sit there and I could blame, like, oh, I didn't speak the language in Turkey. I didn't speak Turkish, right? So, well, that limited my ability to do this, and that limited my ability to do that. Nah, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. I didn't want the responsibility. I didn't want to exercise discipline. I just wanted to fuck around and have a good time and get drunk and get high, and that was all I wanted to do. But there comes a point in your life where you have to sit down and you go, okay, my life is fucked up. I am nowhere near where I want to be in my life. What's the common denominator? What's the one thing that is constantly and always consistent and present in every situation that gets fucked up? Me. Now, it could be that I'm choosing wrong decisions. Okay, still a choice you're making, though. Like you're choosing wrong positions, wrong places, wrong people. Still your decision, still your choices. Like peer pressure is a thing? Yeah, peer pressure is a thing, but guess what? You still have to make a choice. Like I think the situations where someone has literally had a gun to their head to do drugs is few and far between. If you are in that exception, then I greatly apologize. But for most people, if you're hanging around a bunch of fucking losers that are constantly getting fucking high and getting drunk and sucking and leeching off of everyone around them, what the fuck do you think you're going to do with your life? What are you going to do? You're going to do the same thing. You are going to start leeching off of the people around you, and you're going to start throwing your fucking life away. That's exactly what's going to happen. Why do you think, like at least like when you look at like AA and shit, when you look at AA with AA, it's like people, places, and things, right? At least that's the little bit that I know from like my biological father, like a dude's an alcoholic. Right, so the little bit that I know about AA is those things, people, places, and things. If you're hanging around crackheads, chances are you're eventually going to become a crackhead. Right? So it's one of those things that it's just like everything in your life, everything you hate about your life is your fault. And then that's a painful concept, isn't it? Like, I know some people are going to hear that and get pissed off. Like, I know that for a fact. I know somebody either in this live or in post is going to watch this and going to hear me say that if you don't like your life, it's your fault. Sorry, I was being offered breakfast. I had to say yes. So, and I know some people are going to have a hard time with that, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you hear me say your life sucks and it's your fault, and you get pissed off, then you kind of proving my point. Because somebody that really wants to get out of shit, somebody that really wants to move forward in their life is going to stop and say, okay, what am I responsible for? What part of this situation that I'm in am I responsible for? Somebody that's really, truly ready to kind of apply discipline and move on in their lives. Somebody that wants to keep using excuses and doesn't want to accept their responsibility is going to get pissed off at that statement. If your life is fucked up, it's your fault. Because the thing is I'm going to tell you from personal experience. Like I said, 3 different countries, jobless and homeless. I wanted to blame everybody else. I wanted to blame the world. Everything else was the problem. But the only fucking common denominator, the only thing that was consistent in all 3 situations, in all 3 countries, was me. I was the only thing that was consistently there and present in every single situation. Regardless of what the situation was, if the situation sucked, which most of the time it did, I was the only one present. And that forced me to take a really hard fucking look at the choices that I was making. And it doesn't change overnight. This is another thing. This is an important thing to take into consideration here. Like when we hear people, these motivational speakers talk about discipline and like motivation and getting in and fucking doing it and getting the work done, it doesn't happen overnight. You are not going to go to sleep tonight and wake up tomorrow and be the projection of everything that you want to be. You have to start changing every little behavior. You have to start paying attention to everything that it is that you're doing and everything that you're not doing. And you start to change things little by little. It's not something that happens overnight. And I'm so fucking tired of people thinking, like, you listen to a motivational speaker, like, think, how many people have gone through this? How many people in the chat? How many of you have gone through this? That you listen to like one of these motivational speeches and you feel super fucking hyped. And the moment that you turn that shit off, you're like, ooh, you go, volume gets turned down on your motivation like 1,000%. Because what the motivational speech is doing is it's showing you what you're capable of doing. You know you're capable of doing it. And it's showing you the big picture of what you need to do. But then what brings you down is like you start to think about the little things that you need to change in your life. The little inconsistencies, the little things that are fucking you up. And then it automatically becomes overwhelming. One of the things that I do in Infernal Compass with the life coaching with a client, what I'll do with a client is we start little by little. Over 6 weeks, we start little by little. We pick one thing. Like, so if we're talking about most of the time with most clients, right, with most people, fixing their physical environment is a big thing, right? A lot of us reflect the chaos in our mind by having chaos around us. And so one of the things that helps to change this, and I'm not the only one to say this isn't a new concept. This isn't something that I fucking invented, right? But it's something that I know that works. If your mind is chaos and your space is chaos, it's hard to change the mind to change the space, but it's very easy to change the space to help motivate the mind to change. So if you start by changing your space and cleaning your space, you can help begin change the mind, the chaos that's in the mind, which will then motivate and propel you forward to do the other things that you need to do. Because you are taking action, visible action, that changes the world around you for the immediate and allows you to work on the mind. Yeah, that is why people pay 200 fucking grand for fucking Tony Robinson or Tony Robbins. Or any other like major fucking life coach like that. Samael, welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you. So I'm an adamant believer that if you hear someone asking you to take responsibility for your life and you get pissed off because you are being told that it is your fault, that it is definitely your fault. Because I can tell you, before I had that epiphany, that wake up moment in my life where I understood that my life being fucked up was my fault, I blamed everyone else. And anyone that told me that I needed to look at me as like, nah, fuck you, man. Like there's nothing wrong with me. It's the rest of the world that's fucked up. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with what I want to do. There's nothing wrong with what I'm trying to do. I'm perfectly fine. It's the rest of the world that's fucked up. One person out of 8 fucking billion, and it's the 8 billion that's wrong, not me. I was wrong. It was me, and it was always me. The world's not fucked up, you are. For some people, disciple, that's enough. For some people, a good friend is enough, but for a lot of people, it's not. And I'm going to be honest with you, the best friend that you need to have in your life is yourself. And I know that seems very defeatist to some people. I know that that can come across as being very lonely, and it doesn't mean that you need to be your only friend. That's not what I'm saying. But the only person that's always going to have your own back is you. You're the only person that is going to be constant in your life and have your own back. You need to have your back. Because if you don't have your own back, then how can you expect anyone else to have your back? Like, if you don't think you're good enough, to have your own back, why the fuck would you expect anyone else to have your back? Why would you expect anyone else to want to stand up for you if you can't stand up for yourself? In the most minimal of ways. If you can't get up and make your bed, take a shower, and brush your teeth, outside of an actual physical disability which stops you from doing those things, if you can't force yourself in this moment to wake the fuck up, get out of bed, make your bed, brush your teeth, and take a fucking shower, to have the minimal amount of self-care, then how can you expect anyone else to want to stand up for you if you can't stand up for yourself and do the minimal? Now, that's not to say that there aren't going to be days where you're just going to be like, nah, fuck it, I just don't want to. That's fine. It happens. But you should feel shame around it. I'm not gonna fucking lie to you. And again, if you're upset about this, then you know what? This live is not for you. Right? If you have a day where you're like, fuck it, I don't want to make my bed, I don't want to brush my teeth, I don't want to take a shower. You should feel shame around it. Because you let yourself down. You broke the discipline of self. Individuation requires facing discomfort. Breaking with the collective sleep. Discomfort is initiation. Growth only exists on the threshold of pain. Show up on the days you don't want to. Those are the only days that count. Like, everything else is automatic. On the days that you don't want to show up, those are the days that you need to show up. You're working a business. You don't want to work on your business plan. You don't want to follow your business plan one day. That's the day that you fucking need to. Because every time that you allow yourself to slip is a precedent that you're setting for excuse. And then when shit doesn't work, you blame everything else instead of yourself. Because you didn't show up when you needed to. The difference between an amateur and a professional shows up on the days that they don't want to. The difference between succeeding and failing through excuse is showing up when you don't want to. Life and all of the situations in life, business, love, everything, require you to show up. Hate your job, you want to change that scenery, you got to be the one to change that. Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing too. Like, and I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again because it's been a while since I say it. When I sit there and say, like, if you hate your fucking job, change your job. I'm not telling you to quit your job in the moment, because a lot of people turn around and go, well, I can't quit my job because, I need to pay rent. So, well, I'm not telling you to quit your fucking job. I'm telling you to change it. Right? You can still look for another job while you're working. You can still email and the internet is a wonderful fucking thing. It's not like it used to be. You don't have to be walking around all day handing in job applications. You can email people your resume, right? So with the wonderful advent of technology, and the reason, if you're sitting here and you're watching this and you're one of the people that are sitting there saying, well, I can't quit my job because I need money to pay my rent. Motherfucker, you are sitting in front of a computer. You're sitting on a phone. You have a computer in your goddamn pocket, for fuck's sake, right? You are listening to me on the internet. You can use that same fucking connection to revamp your resume and start sending it out to people. I'm not telling you to quit your fucking job. Don't be stupid. But I am telling you that you are responsible for changing the things in your life that you don't like. If you don't like your job, yeah, change your job. If you want to go into business for yourself, which is a little bit more complicated, find a side hustle. Start your business as a side hustle. Right? Put that work in, right? If you want something enough, you're going to put the fucking work into it. I work a 9 to 5 and I still do this. Monday, Wednesday, fucking Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Even with a 9 to 5, I still do this shit. And I do this shit with fucking passion. Because I want this to work. I want this to be my job. I want this to be my job. So I show up. Even when I don't fucking want to. And trust me, waking up at 5:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the fucking morning, there's some days I'm just like, I just don't want to fucking do it. But I show up. Because I want this more than I want to sleep for another hour. It's on you, right? And if this show has made you uncomfortable, if this show has made you angry, if you're one of the people that you don't like the word discipline, if you don't like it when people tell you that it's your fault that your life is the way that it is, I'm sorry, but I was one of those fucking people that my life was shit and it was my fucking fault. And I didn't want to hear anyone that was going to tell me that it was. I was wrong. It was my fault. My life was the way that it was because of choices and decisions that I was making. So, if you want change in any part of your life, you have to find the way to change it. You have to accept responsibility. Stop finding excuses. Stop self-diagnosing. Stop using that shit as an excuse. I mean, for fuck's sake, the people that use, ADHD and shit like that, for like a reason not to have jobs. I know I've recently been like officially diagnosed with severe ADHD, right? Combined presenting. And it has made life fucking hell. But at the end of the day, it was still my responsibility and choices that I made that fuck shit up for me, knowing how my brain works. Now, I'm taking medication now, and that's a whole other fucking live. But I think I'm proof that even with something like ADHD and making fucked up decisions, to sit there and say that it is the ADHD that is making it so I can't keep a job. It's the ADHD that's making me homeless. It's the borderline personality disorders that I self-diagnosed. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about other people, that made me live life the way that I live my life, and yada, 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 yada. Again, I have been diagnosed with severe combined presenting ADHD. And I've had the same job for the last 2.5, almost 3 years now. Without medication. Now, has it been a struggle? Have there been fuck ups? Yes. But being aware of those fuck ups, being aware of the things that I need to do for myself, I was still able to change circumstance. I was still able to change my situation. I was still able to make better choices, understanding how I am, and be successful at what I'm doing. There is no excuse for your life being shit except for the fact that you don't want to fix it. Struggled with life, disruptive mental health. Absolutely detest when people use it as an excuse. Just no, I completely agree. I completely agree. Like, I mean, ADHD, like, I mean, I've had like for a few years now, like there has been a suspected diagnosis of ADHD, but I needed a psychiatrist to actually look at it and diagnose it. I finally got that. But I'm still not going to blame ADHD because my life was fucked up in the past. Maybe to a certain degree, but still, that was me making choices and not paying attention to the way that my brain worked. And not being conscious enough, self-aware enough to sit there and say, well, the rest of the world doesn't fucking operate this way, so there's something I'm fucking up on here. Right? I just blame the rest of the world. Until I finally woke the fuck up. I was like, I need to pay attention to the way my brain works and what I need to do for myself to make this shit work. Because it doesn't matter how fucked up your life is because of other things that might be happening in your life. It's still your responsibility to turn around and say, what can I do to make this better? I was just given food. Which is a cue to end the live. And I could probably talk about this shit for hours. But if you guys are wondering what Infernal Compass is, that's what Infernal Compass is I help people wake the fuck up. It is a life coaching program set on radical accountability. Emphasis on radical. It is radical accountability. Like, I make sure that people have therapists and support networks before they pay me money. Because if they don't, I don't take them on. That's how deep the shit is. So anyway, thank you guys for being here. You guys are fucking amazing. As always, you're the reason that I do this. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Friday leading into the weekend. Thanks, Satan, it's Friday. And as always, hail thy fucking self. We'll see you in the next one. Peace the fuck out.